Good day and thank you for joining CivilNet. Today we decided to get out of the office and out of Yerevan a little bit. We're in the Lori region where we're following the construction of the Smart Center in Lori by Co-op. This is a very interesting initiative. We've talked about it on CivilNet before this and we're here to see the progress. We've spoken with Dr. Garo Armen and the architect Paul Galustian here at the spot. Take a look.
We can't fear something that's novel. And clearly what we're doing here is very novel. And what's the novelty? Well, we're using technology, particularly telecommunications technology, and the world's common language, which is English, to be able to educate the regional people, particularly children, in any and all applicable subjects. So if somebody wants to learn coding, we'll be able to connect with a center that can teach the best standards of coding and be able to benefit from that. If somebody wants to learn about organic agriculture, we'll be able, through video conferencing or Skyping, be able to connect a remote area of the world and spoken in English, be able to convey that knowledge. If somebody wants to know about robotics, certainly when in Armenia we have expertise in robotics, but if we want to connect with MIT Media Laboratories, we'll be able to do that. So anything that one can envision as knowledge acquisition will be able to be done here. So it'll be very difficult to transport people 18-20 hours from a remote part of the world, but with the push of a button we can do that in 2 seconds. This is a smart campus. We haven't yet scoped out the exact components of the smart campus. Certainly where we're standing here is the smart center, and the smart center will be the key driver of the smart campus. And in the surrounding villages, and there are as many as perhaps 35 to 40 villages within a travel distance to the smart campus, we have smart rooms. We've already established 6 of them, perhaps even 7 actually, and the smart rooms are a mini smart center. So we have the same kinds of telecommunications capabilities, the same kinds of language expertise to be able to connect the smart rooms to the smart center, or the smart rooms to Yerevan or anywhere in the world to be able to have this knowledge acquisition. People in these parts of the world, in this part of Armenia, did not feel connected to the world. With this, now they will feel they're not as isolated.
The idea is to be as low as possible, not to have a three-story building, for example. So the whole building is 1 story, and what's interesting about it is that it's following the topography. It's not something that is stagnant and something that is constrained by the horizontality. Instead, it's working as nature itself, as the trees where you see, like what's interesting here during my first visit is when I see this green mountains with dense trees creating abstract forms. So in a way, this building acts in a similar way. It's like borrowing something from nature, which is very organic, and at the same time creating a form that follows the landscape, as if it's marrying the landscape. It's not something imposing. So this is why I created this kind of 1 story and on levels going down and up. Second point, which is also very important, is through the curves that I'm using, I'm creating something that the visitor or the inhabitant of the space will never grasp as a whole. So when you enter, there's always these walls directing you somewhere, giving you views, but you never understand how big the space is or how small.
I think Armenia has fantastic potential, and that potential doesn't just reside in Yerevan. A good portion of that potential resides in the villages, and we're delighted that we'll be able to give them the resources they need to benefit from all of the beautiful things that are going on in the world, and also, very importantly, benefit the world with certain knowledges that they have, which are specific to them, specific to this region, that the world doesn't know about. So it's not just one way, it's a two-way knowledge exchange. And by doing that, people of our country or our villages will feel more worthy, will feel that not only do they take knowledge, but they also can contribute. We expanded from one village to now close to 50, and we expanded from just one program, which was education, to healthcare, to social, to economic development, to environmental development and all. And so because of the success of our programs, we said, well, how do we export all of this to every single village in Armenia? And to do that manually, the way we've done it over the last 13 years, would be very difficult, and it would perhaps take 50 to 100 years. And since time is not our friend, we had to come up with this novel concept of SMART. So with the SMART concept, and admittedly it's an experimental idea, but everything novel is experimental at first. Because the stakes are so high, and because the people here don't have the luxury of time, we need to intervene very rapidly. And that's what we came up with, the concept of SMART, to help us with that rapid intervention and be able to take proven programs that we have already implemented over the last 13 years to all over Armenia in the fastest and most efficient way possible. So that was the concept.
These openings where you can have views.
For me, architecture has an impact on the environment. In a way, whatever you do as construction, it's a violent act. So this kind of creating a new environment, a new nature by doing a building, instead of doing something that is like an object in contradiction with something else. And in parallel, something very important, which is architects create also an environment that is material, where people are affected by it. So it affects lives in a way. So this building also deals with these facts, dealing with the nature, doing a building that is a new environment, a new nature, instead of being just a building. And second, how to impact positively on the lives of people that will experience the space, live in it, work in it, walking in it, you know, interacting. The communal spaces are very important, where people can interact between each other. I was super impressed by the landscape, the mountains, the difference in vegetation, everything. But at the same time, I noticed along the way what the Soviets did. I mean, the Armenians, architects and builders, what they did. And to tell you the truth, I was very surprised positively. And I think at this moment, there is a lack, there is a void of creative architecture. At that point, something was happening. So instead of rejecting and negating this period in terms of creativity, architecture and arts, I think we should build on it. We don't have to always think that we are a generation looking at only our churches, which is the peak of our culture. No, actually this is my approach in doing the architecture here, is not to be sentimental, romantic, looking at the past, because this attitude is patronizing. You know, when an architect comes from a different culture, he wants to mix things from the past. No, I think we should do something looking optimistically at the future.
The government of Armenia and the municipalities have limited resources, so somebody has to fill in the void, and Children of Armenia Fund fills that void. And it's, I think, presumptuous to think that we can start something and check a box and leave and hope that it'll be fine. This is what many organizations have done. And if you go back and look at the impact, it is not what was envisioned at the start of the project. So one of the commitments that we've made from the beginning is that we will see things through until the people of rural Armenia can fill in the void themselves. And there are areas in our region already, in the Armavir Mars area, where we're seeing that. People are filling in the void. We don't have to babysit the process the way we used to. And I think that's a very important element of it. And I think with the SMART concept, we will achieve those accomplishments much faster. That's the dream.